Hi everybody, good morning. It's 7:30 here in New York and I am ready. I woke up, I did my yoga practice. Still haven't meditated, but I'm excited to be talking to Guruji about a topic that's relevant to all of us. Is the karmic bonds with people that we find ourselves in, whether it's parents, whether it is... I don't know actually if you guys can hear me clearly. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Give me a second, guys. I'm actually fixing this. My wires. Okay, I'm not sure if any of that was clear because I realized my mic was... We can hear. Okay, good. Because I realized that my mic was on the headphones. And this is a very important topic, right? For people, either they are into this stuff or not. Because karmic bonds, we're all born with certain karmic bonds, right? We all have certain... Namaste, Krishna ji. And just to understand why are we, what are we born with and how do we approach this? It's very exciting for me to be having this chat with none other than Guruji. We were unsure whether we were going to do the live today or not. And I actually feel like I need this every week. I need this more than anybody else to talk to Guruji and to come back to the center, to ground ourselves. I think it's an extremely important conversation for me. Hi Poozy, good morning dear. That's a very good friend of mine, Gossip About Food. By the way, everybody, she has some amazing products that she sells. Please check them out. I'm going to be talking about them on my page as well. So Guruji is here. Let's get Guruji. Namaste Guruji, pranam.
Pranamam, how are you?
I'm good, Guruji. I know there was a slight talk about whether we should do this week or not, but I need this conversation, Guruji, every week. I need it to keep myself in the center, to remind myself of the bigger goals it really allows me to refocus. And I'm sure everybody who listens to this conversation, it allows them to refocus. And Guruji also has a yoga philosophy course coming up. Guruji,
Yes.
can we start talking about that first? Because so that, or we can talk about that next time or at the ending. But I would
No,
like...
it's up to you.
So then let's talk about it, Guruji. Let's talk about it because, before I even introduce the course and I'm going to ask Guruji questions, I just want to say that a lot of the philosophies that Guruji talks about, I have tried to dwell on my own in the past and I have not found clear explanations like the way Guruji gives us each time on every topic. To study anything from the Shastra with Guruji would be a big opportunity, a blessing, a privilege in this lifetime. So, Guruji, can you tell our listeners a little bit about what the yoga philosophy program is about?
Okay. First of all, let me explain one sentence. We should be having the respect and courtesy, allegiance to our tradition. But it should not be a slavery and show off. I'm sorry to use this word. We are very obedient to our tradition and we show our divinity or humbleness, everything we are showing. What is no need? All our masters were so bold in their position or in their stand. They were questioning God. They said, "Is there a God?" They asked. Then they said, "If there is a God, I should find him." And when they found God, they declared that I am that. Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi. And they taught us, be bold like a sage And here we can be very allegiant to our tradition, but it doesn't mean that no, we have to fall into books or very ritualistic. No. Philosophy is the language of silence that we should. Masters experienced the reality and they spoke about the reality which we label as God. The explanations about God is labeled as philosophy. Then people couldn't grasp it. It was a bit difficult. Then the philosophy was lightened. It diluted to mythology, mythological stories. That also people start getting, confused. They started falling into sections. Oh, this is my master. This is my, mythological leader, or many things. They personified certain ideas and presented into the society as the teachings, but people couldn't grasp it. Then from mythology, again it was diluted into ritualistic. Saguna Aradhana. Saguna Aradhana means there will be a symbol on which your mind can be focused. Through that method, you can go to the unlimited. There is a limited image through which you can evolve yourself and jump into or explore yourself into the unlimited reality. There the ritualism came. When we became very ritualistic, we are unnecessarily falling into the traditional books or beliefs or rituals. We should not have that over dependence. This is what I want to tell. All are having a hidden sage within. Now we are in need of a return of the Rishi. Rishi is
The
the
time of
silent
the
mantra.
Rishi. I love it.
Yes, the moment we explore our hidden Rishi from within, all our problems will be solved. All our questions will be answered. This is what I have to tell as a beginning. Philosophy is for the development or the achievement of our own real potential. There is no compromise in that. So intimacy is organizing a class or a 20 hours certificate program, which will be explaining in this level. Philosophy should be taken to our day-to-day life. Each and every moment of our life must be philosophical. And along with that, it should go hand in hand with the modern science. There is no ideology in traditional wisdom or traditional scriptures which cannot be explained through the parameters of modern science. If something is there which is not matching with the modern science, immediately we have to give up. We have to get rid of that. So intimacy will be very bold in this position.
Great.
Right.
Guruji. Great, Guruji.
Yeah.
So what Guruji is saying that how we, in our quest for the truth, in our search for the truth, very often we lean on external tools, on deities, on rituals, and we forget that the real truth lies within us, that inner power lies within us. So, and just it's been for generations, we kind of find ourselves handicapped because we don't have faith and we don't know how to see ourselves within. We
Yes.
kind of hold on to something like a crutch outside. So
Yes.
Indi Masi is organizing a course, which I love what Guruji said, it's Return of the Rishi, is being able to use our logical and scientific minds to understand the yoga philosophy. Because, and I find that true with Ayurveda as well, anything that I cannot understand through my logical and scientific mind, I disregard at that point. And there's nothing in our Shastras that you cannot understand through a logical and scientific mind when understood well. And there's no better person than Guruji to really have this experience with. So I will be posting more about the program. It's so please, anybody who can join, we will get the details. We will try and get Krishnaji on to even talk about it one day. I would highly recommend everyone to do this. Now, Guruji, let's go to the topic for today, karmic bonds.
Yes.
So, Guruji, I think this is really what everybody is struggling with is karmic bonds. To be honest with you, right? Because we all want people around us, and we're all complaining about people around us. So this is the problem of the modern man, right, Guruji? So let us
True.
start. Let us start with just the simplest topic that when we are born to parents, there
Mm,
is a strong, deep karmic bond that
mm,
you emerge out of.
mm.
Let's talk about how that arrangement is done in the universe. And I'm leaving this very open-ended because I want to hear your perspective.
Anyhow, I don't want to confuse you
It's
by
okay,
asking
Guruji.
another question.
Oh, no. So then don't, Guruji.
Is there a bond, as you label as karmic bond? Is there something like that?
I mean, so Guruji, I think I'm going to confuse the listeners more. The way I think of it is that all the sanskars that I have to face, I'm born into an environment which really heighten and lighten and bring to my notice the sanskars that I'm supposed to be in touch with, that I'm supposed to be like, oh, this is who I am. Like everything that happens outside gives you truth to yourself inside. But let's come back to this
Uh,
still.
Tell me, yes, I want to just remove this confusion solely. As I told you in all our discussions, end of the discussion, we came to a conclusion that the subject which we are discussing, if endlessly we are discussing, and there is no remedy without experience. This is the science of silence. Yoga is the science of silence. That is by the exponents who explained this science were known as Munis. Muni means a person who observes his silence. So this yogic science is the exploration and experience of the sound, the silence of sound. So our discussion must be leading to that target only. That is why I asked you this question. Yeah, it is easy to ask a question. But just see the relevance of that question. That is what is called manana, contemplation. We have to ask ourselves. If we want to ask a question to our inner conscience, there must be a silence. Otherwise, we cannot hear our inner question. When our inner question start reverberating within, or it start resonating, we will be forced to listen that. That is what is called pratyahara in Ashtanga Yoga. To listen that inner resonance, we have to attend or bring our attention back to our inner self. There we will start experiencing something which is beyond our intellect. All your questions are the outcome of our intellectual exercise. We have to drag our attention back from the intellect to our instinct. This is the key. This is the target. So I am coming back to my question. Is there a bondage? Is there a link? There are two answers for this question. There is a link as long as we have this consciousness. Awakened state, there is a bondage, there is a cohesiveness. But when you are in deep sleep, all of us are sleeping, we are falling into deep sleep. Is there any bondage in our deep sleep? Karmic bondage? Tell me.
No,
Yes.
Guruji. You're
No.
you're one with the universe at that point.
Yes. At that time, our ego vanished. When in the deep sleep, ego is not existent. When ego is not there, what else is there? Only reality, which we call the ultimate truth or the God or X or Y, we label it whenever we are awakened. Even a deep sleep can be experienced after we come out of that sleep. During the sleep, nobody is aware of that intensity or the depth of the sleep. After a good sleep, we woke up and said, wow, I was enjoying the sleep. They had a wonderful sleep. In that awakened state only, that reminder is there. Same way now we are asking all these questions about something which we were in our deep sleep. Experiencing that deep sleep is called Yoga Nidra. Conscious sleep, our ordinary materialistic sleep, is labeled as Nidra in Sanskrit.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping state is Nidra.
Mm-hmm.
What is Yoga Nidra?
Mm-hmm.
Yoga Nidra is a conscious sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we reach to that level,
Mm-hmm.
we will be establishing in that oneness,
Mm-hmm.
where our ego, individual ego, is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Then what else will remain? If there is a cosmic ego, which we call, God, is available there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we transform ourselves into our conscious, from our conscious level to our universal consciousness, or our individual ego transforming itself into a cosmic ego, there we will get the clear answer for this question, whether there is a karmic bondage or not. Okay, that is our aim. But intellectually, now you asked me a question, I have a clear answer. Yes, there is a karmic bondage.
Okay. So Guruji, I'm going to just summarize this. So because people keep joining, and then we'll go to that answer. So when I ask Guruji, is there a karmic bondage? He says that, look, this is an answer that we have to explore on our own. And one example he gave us is when we are in a deep sleep and you are actually, one with the universe, you're one with the cosmos. At that point, there is no strong bond. Everything is dissolved. Everything is united. And then at the same time, you come back into your senses and the awakened state, so as to call, not really awakened state, but you're awake. Let's say you're awake. At that point, you feel kind of this karmic bondage. So what is the reality? Is this the reality? Is that the reality? And now Guruji is going to answer. There were people who asked questions about dreams. We will come back to that question as well. Okay, so Guruji, now let's take the question. Let's take you said, yes, there are karmic bondage in this state. Yes.
Yes. So one more example, keep in mind, then we will go to the questions.
Yes. Yeah, Guruji, first we'll finish what we are saying and then we'll go to questions. Questions are in the ending.
Okay. Just for example, see the wonderful ocean, infinite ocean we are enjoying. And we take a bucket and take one bucket full of ocean, sea water, and keep it near us. Can we call that water in the bucket as ocean? Just now we took one bucket of water from that.
Yeah.
Can we call it an ocean?
No.
No. But is that ocean water?
Yes.
Yes. We are like this. In this infinite ocean of God, we have a boundary as the bucket. So we are feeling that we are separated from the cosmic ocean. So even though the water is inside the container, we have the limitation of the container. That limitation is our body. So long as we are body conscious, we are separated from the cosmic ocean of energy or God. But the water inside is the God. That is why it is explained in our scriptures. God is residing within the depth of your heart. Hiranyagarbha. The depth of your heart, God is there. But we are bit separated by the filters of our senses. 5 filters are there. These are the separating faculty or the element between the reality and our time. There we have the bondage with everybody. Like 100 buckets are there with different shapes and different volume. And we took water from the ocean. So 100 lives are there with 100 peculiarity. So long as the container is remaining, we feel that, yes, I have a special separate identity though I have that separate identity, I am the seawater. In essence, same. But since the container is alive, we will feel that we have the bondage. Same time, not only we have the bondage with the ocean, also with the other containers. Because inside all containers, what is there?
Ocean
Seawater,
water.
ocean water. So the difference is only the shape and nature, quality of the container. So we are all like that, millions. Now 7 point some billion human beings are there. We are all 7 point few, 7.2 or 3 billions of different containers taken from, ocean water is taken from the cosmic ocean of God. And we are existing as these many billions of individuals. And we have our own plus and minus. But same time we feel that, yes, we have bondages because we are from the same origin. This is the essence of all religion. In Christianity, they propagate that. The Divine Father is there, we are the children of that Divine Father. And all other religions also saying the Almighty God is the source of all creation. Where is the difference? So in that sense, our modern science is very clear in this point that energy is the source of all manifestations. Matter is made out of energy. Where is the difference? So there is a combination between Sthula and Sukshma. Sthula is the manifested containers. Sukshma is the energy. So we are bounded, or we, in essence, we are one. Though we feel that we are separate existence, individuals, but in essence, we are one. That bondage is there. Then second part is the bondage or karmic evolution from the single cell mollusk to the highly evolved man. There is a law of evolution. That also can be discussed, but discussion will never end.
That's okay.
Okay, but we can slowly take our memory back, rewind our memory from human brain. The most evolved brain is human brain. From this human brain, we can rewind our clock of memory. Then we can slowly go back to our single cell existence. Narayana. In India, there is a god called Narayana, the manifestation of Lord Vishnu. What does it mean? Naram in Sanskrit, water, liquid. Ayana means existing. That is what is called in modern science morphogenesis.
Genesis.
Yeah. So from the ultimate, infinite or invisible energy, visible water evolved. From water, a single cell, a mollusk evolved. From the mollusk, another cell is evolved. That cells, even what is our human life, we are entering in our mother's womb as a simple energy. Then zygote is formed in the water, in the womb. That zygote is multiplying gradually with a specific design of memory. That single cell is containing a full-grown man's or woman's memory. Based on that memory, yes, it will evolve and it will be a full-grown embryo. Then it will come out. Then slowly it will start growing. So we are all having this karmic process of bondages. If you want to rewind and make out of that memory, meditation is the only tool. Take the mind back from the external object, fix it to our body, and go to the essence of the body, essence of creation. It is possible for a person who can seriously establish into yoga.
Great answer, Guruji. What a beautiful example that how the ocean is all one big mass. Similarly, we belong to the ocean, the universe as that one energy. And then the minute you take that ocean water and put it in a bucket and you give it a form and you give it like, this is the water in the bucket, that's basically, that's exactly what we do as human beings. We are part of this big energy energy system in the universe, and then we kind of want to give ourselves form, like Guruji said, nama rupa, and we
Yes.
want to give ourselves that form. There's a desire, and because of that there is a bubbling in that energy, and that energy now becomes matter, and we start growing and growing and growing. That whole, from while we start at one, the level of a cell, and then we create those karmic bondages. Our essence is still that ocean water, our essence is still that energy, but as we kind of create this whole system from one cell to, just the growth, we kind of create this system of bondage. The only way to discover our truth again is to go back to that where we came from. And
Yes.
while we need to understand these karmic bondages, while we will talk to Guruji about trying and understand these karmic bondages that we find ourselves in, that we put ourselves in, the goal will still remain. As we talk in every session, the goal is still to meditate and go within.
Yes.
But we are going to Guruji, I still want to take that same question that we started with. I understand what you're saying. And I understand probably, the families that we are born into, that has like the biggest bond, when we say in this state, in the state of, in this sthula state. Sthula is gross. Everybody's sthula is gross.
Gross.
Sukshma is subtle.
Subtle.
And in a gross state, we are manifested as human beings. We have a name, we have a form. The subtle is that essence, the soul, the energy that we, carry from the universe. So Guruji, in this sthula state, the biggest bondage that we have, that we find ourselves in this sthula state, is in the families that we are born. I want you to talk about that a little bit, Guruji, how that design, because it's such an important question for everybody. I get that question all the time, right, Guruji? People are like, oh, I don't get along with my sister, or with my parents, and there is a yearning, there is a push, and there is a pull, and there is a desperation to want family and need family, and then yet all our sanskars come to the surface with our families. So Guruji, I think talking about that will give so much clarity, and then we will go and meditate.
What is the problem or what is the confusion in the family relationship? I don't feel any complication in family relationship because I have a clarity in my existence. If I have a clarity about myself, I will have clarity on the duties or explanations of my existence. Where is the difference? Like I have, my father and mother, they passed away, but I enjoyed my parents' love, care, everything. I'm so grateful, and I paid back my responsibilities as a son. I did everything was possible, so I'm happy on that. Second thing, I have sisters, brothers, friends. Where is the problem? I don't see any issue in my life because I have a clarity about my own activity. That is why I insist everybody get clarity within.
Got it.
How connected you are, the bondages with the law of nature and your own personal existence. When you have that clarity, the links between your fellow beings, whether you label it as parents or sisters or brothers or friends, these are all your labeling. Your mind is labeling that. You can see a person as your friend or your enemy. Who is labeling that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can have many friends, much more closer than our brothers or sisters. What is happening? Actually, we are experiencing, based on that experience, we are labeling the relationship. Come back to the chemistry of the relationship. All are hormones which are created in our system.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Guruji. Absolutely.
Yes. So when you deal with your parents or sisters or brothers or friends, you must have a control over the hormonal changes within you. Then
Absolutely.
the definition will come from ourselves.
Absolutely.
When we are contented with our inner explanations, we never bother about others' comment on that. Here, the danger, lie. What is it? We don't know what's happening within us, and we are keen to listen what others are commenting about us. This is the clash, and we give preference for external informations, others' conclusions about our attitude. How can an external person, a different person, can comment about our attitude and understanding? It is absurd. When we rely on someone else comment on our life, then we are nowhere. This is the danger. This is the confusion in relationships. I think you got it.
Yeah, Guruji, I actually completely got it, because what Guruji said is that whenever we have relationships around us, the reason what relationships do, they basically keep pressing internal hormonal buttons in our body. And that's what relationships are about, right? Whether it's mother, brother, we can give labels, but everything causes a reaction inside. And this is
Ah,
the addiction or the frustration or anything with the relationship is less about the relationship outside. It's more about the internal button it presses for us. And what Guruji is saying, that you don't have to name it or label the relationship, but we just get familiar with those internal triggers, with those hormonal changes. We explore what's be, and Guruji, I can relate to this really well. It's really funny, actually. This morning I was thinking to myself that every time, really, Guruji, that every time if I get triggered because of an external situation, that is actually information about, there is important information about myself. It's not about the outside situation. It's about really understanding who I am. It's really getting to know who I am deeply. So, and I understand what Guruji is saying, because I know I feel like I have been on that journey recently, and it really does make a difference, because all of these names that we give to relationship, mother, father, sister, should be like this, all
yeah.
of those layers kind of evaporate, and there becomes a flow of smooth energy between
Energy.
relationships,
Good.
you know between relationships. And then what you need to do as your duty or as your dharma becomes very clear and evident and easy. And
Yeah.
that yearning and those hard feelings that come with relationships shed away. And the more they remain, the more the exploration is required.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I completely understand, Guruji, what you're saying. It makes I hope that makes sense, um, for everybody. And Samira, again, how do you deal with the trigger? Is really again through pratyahar, to chitta vritti nirodha, to stop outside communication, to live in that silence, to really understand who you are. So Guruji, somebody has one question, right? And I understand what the answer might be, but I want you to answer this, Guruji, because
Okay.
I know these are the kind of questions that keep coming up, and this is why I wanted us to take this. I
Okay.
completely believe in karmic bonds between family. My question is, this is somebody asking, is do families have the same karma? Meaning, if my family has financial karma, do I have the same karma?
Do I have the same karma which family was having? Is that question?
Yeah, like people keep asking even now, right, Guruji? All the questions
No.
are, oh, we have karmic contracts with people, or there's a give and take between people, or hey, as a collective, as a family, we have ancestral trauma, and we are supposed to give back, or my family is supposed to have financial karma. And I understand from all the work that you've done with us, Guruji, that how this is actually beyond that. But can you still address these questions, because we've got a lot of these questions, Guruji?
Okay. Now, if I give you a straight answer is go and meditate. Okay.
Yes.
But I don't want to give that straight answer.
Yes.
I will bring a traditional teaching, Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Arjuna was the real actor over here, who was the key person for the success. Krishna was his chariot before the war starts. Arjuna asked Krishna to take the chariot in between, right in between the two armies. There, this conversation starts. Actually, that conversation is as same as the questions now you are getting.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
you're right.
When Arjuna was there to be in action, he saw in front of him as his enemies his Pidamaha, his beloved master, his uncles, maternal uncles, brothers, everybody was against him, whom he has to kill. So he was being the sharp shooter. He is selected to kill all these senior members, including his guru, who taught him archery. So he got confused. And he started asking questions. Oh, before asking questions, he became very nervous. This is what he was saying, that, oh Krishna, my hands, my body is shivering, and see, I am sweating. I am nervous. And he really became nervous and sat on the chariot, threw away his weapons. That is the scene. What does it mean? His weapon represents the tool through which we can win the war. If you are a computer expert, you want to do a business transaction, and you came to know your uncle is against you in the business, and your company asked you to play with your computer skill and business strategy. Come on, get this thing done. We have to win. That means immediately you felt that, oh, how can I defeat my uncle? What will happen? Where you are then in your profession. So here, this is the situation. So this guy became nervous, and he sat on the chariot and he started asking questions. Like, now we are getting many questions. Okay. The medium will be different, but the essence is same. We are nervous. Then, the dialogue continues like that. Finally, Krishna was explaining this one point. Whoever is standing in front of you, Arjuna, they are not existing as they are. They are as same as you and me. These are all only reflections in the cosmic, background. The cosmic stage, these are all like bubbles, or the active, or in the cosmic ocean, they are like waves. You are not doing anything against them. It's only Maya. Then Arjuna said, how can Krishna, I can imagine that this is Maya, it's reality, I have to kill, I have to send my arrow and it will pierce the chest of my guru and he will die. How can you say that this is Maya? So like this, he will ask intellectual questions. After giving intellectual answers, finally, he will start with the Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, many yogas are explained. Still, he will not be convinced. And finally, he will say that anyhow, I will give you, Jnana Drishti. Vishwarupa Darshanam, that chapter you have to read carefully, or everybody can read that. There, Krishna will give him, he will bless him for opening the third eye. Then Arjuna will see Krishna as the cosmic existence. Millions and billions of hands, millions of billions of faces, and it was, construction, maintenance, destruction, everything he will see in front of him as the Vishwarupa, the cosmic scene will be presented in front of Arjuna by opening the third eye. Then what will happen? Immediately, Arjuna will start screaming. He will scream that, so Krishna, I cannot bear this, please stop this. Then he will ask Krishna to manifest in front of him as his friend or chariot. Actually, what does it mean? That Vishwarupa Darshanam scene is representing Kundalini awakening. As we discussed earlier, when we hold the intellectual definition will not make the person eternally convinced. The intellect will keep on bringing questions. The ultimate strategy, only through which we can get convinced and prepare ourselves to the war with a stable mind, is after the Kundalini awakening. So that is what happened in Arjuna when he was explaining that his Kundalini awakened. his death hormone, sixth sense activated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Their autonomic nervous system, according to modern science,
Mm-hmm.
autonomic nervous system got activated.
Mm-hmm.
Then the hormone started filling in the body. Then he realized the cosmic ocean. That is the experience.
Mm-hmm.
After getting that experience,
Mm-hmm.
he said, okay, even though this is the truth, I don't want to remain in that situation more than few minutes or seconds like that.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to come back to the conscious level.
Mm-hmm.
So Kundalini awakening, he was in Samadhi state. Then from Samadhi, he came back to ordinary level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
There he said, Krishna, now take my chariot back to my position. There is a war which we have to win. He was declaring that. So actually, what does it mean? If we are confused, go through this intellectual explanations, argument with the Guru. And once you are convinced, get into the Kumbhaga practice, get your Kundalini activated, your adult hormone, the sixth sense will be evolved within you. Then you will become aware of the reality of the cosmic sheet of existence. Then you will come back to your normal life, material life, and you will do your job. There Arjuna was the warrior. So Kshatriya, he has to win the war. That was his duty. Here, if you are a businessman or businesswoman, that is your job. Get your work done, irrespective of your situations. Anybody come in front of you as an enemy, you have to love that enemy on behalf of the reality. Because you know that both are same sea water taken into different containers. And containers are not eternal. It will come and go. That is our body. So body is not permanent. It is evanescent. So it will come and go. It's only an illusion. It's only a maya. So once that container is broken, in essence, we are one. So here, nobody is defeating or nobody is being defeated. Nobody is killed or nobody is killing. So nobody is, like constructing something or destructing something. These are all happenings in the nature. When we understand that level, life will be wonderful and effortless. There we will take our weapons back. That means tool of action. If you are a doctor or a surgeon, your tool is the surgical blade. If you are a computer expert, your tool, your weapon is the computer. If you are a farmer, the equipments for farming, that is your tool. So like that, tools can be used as per the profession and talent. Understand our own inner talent, then explore its maximum, do without any confusion. That confusion can be eliminated fully by activating the depth hormone or the super consciousness. This is what we have to practice. Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think everybody also got it. They all responded. So that is everybody. What Guruji basically said is that once you realize that we are all part of a cosmos together, how how Arjun was able to see that, oh my God, we all came from the same place. And, that's kind of scary reality of things happening and emerging and that whole concept of emerging and destruction and emergence and destruction, how the world is constantly creating and destroying and creating and destroying. Once we realize that this is all of that's happening in the world, and then we find our position back here in this life, in this deha, in this body, then to understand that all we have is a role, is like to do nishkam karma, which is to be able to do your action without knowing that this is just a part of the job, part of the role in this play that I've been given. It's nothing that I have to develop such strong attachment to the results, attachment to people around me, because this is all a big drama. This is a big maya. Once you understand that, so whenever we get caught up in family roles and bondages, in all of that, and we feel completely uneasy and frustrated, at that point, our goal is to constantly go back inside and realize where we came from and what our role is. And the minute we can do that, it's like it brings a light-hearted laughter to our faces. It's just like, oh my God, like really. And I can understand that, Guruji. It makes complete sense, and I hope that it made sense to everybody. So, and I love that how Guruji did not give in to my pressure of of giving us the answer of the parents in this. He kept on reminding us the whole time that really he can't say, oh yeah, you're born to your parents for a certain reason, or you're born to your brother, with your. He kept reminding us, no, you're just born, you all come from the same place, you all have a role. Understand where you come from and understand your role. Both need to be understood simultaneously, right, Guruji? People are either
Yes,
obsessed
absolutely.
with their role, or people are obsessed with finding out where they came from. But we need to understand both, and once we understand both, we understand where we come from. So we just do our role in the most simplest fashion possible, without that asakti or desperation.
Yes, if somebody is wearing dark glasses and they are complaining that, Guruji, I cannot get the clarity in the vision. What else I should how can I explain about the clarity of the vision? I can keep telling them remove the glasses. Then the problem is solved.
That's exactly how it is. We are looking at our relationships with these glasses. And,
Yes,
one of the things that Guruji keeps saying, which is just so brilliant, is that the external interactions we have and the internal hormones they trigger, all of this is about that. The whole
yes,
game is about that. And what Guruji
yes.
said is that meditation will allow you to regulate those hormonal shifts that we experience all the time. Yes, Guruji? So to
Yes.
constantly come back to meditation to regulate the hormonal shifts. So we don't feel like we're on a roller coaster with every experience that happens to us in the world.
Yeah. 1 minute. Yes.
So guys, I think we all should listen to this twice and really remind ourselves when we go off center. We go off center so quickly. That's the hormonal shift that happens, right, Guruji? That off
Yes.
center is the hormonal shift that happens, and then we come
Yes.
back.
Yes.
You really explained. I'm just going to
Hello.
see. Yeah, Guruji. Sorry, I lost for a second. I I think you've answered all of the questions. Uh, so I mean, we'll take this last question, Guruji. And of course, you have still
Mhm.
answered it, but we'll still take it because it's a little bit different from the others. Doesn't that justify murder in retribution? Example, if somebody kills your son and you kill
Mm.
the killer.
Mm.
No, I didn't understand the question actually, Priya. Did you understand the question, Guruji? I didn't understand the question properly.
If somebody kills your son and you kill the other person, is
Yeah.
it a question?
Yeah. As saying that, oh, this is my role or this is my duty, I can go and kill the other person.
Again, please understand this law of nature or the secret of our existence. Before we take a body, even before we transform ourselves into that single cell zygote, we will have a clear memory and plan. It's called genetic memory. So in that genetic memory, the life is clearly defined. Based on that graph or that design only, the rest of the things will happen. Now, I have a body. And before I took this body, I was into the Sukshma, subtle level, only in the memory level. From that memory level, conscious level, I made my energy to the matter level, body level. By the time before I come out from my mother's womb, I was having all memories, how many years I will be surviving in this earth, and what kind of experiences I will get, and when, how many diseases I will get, and when I will die, how I will die. Everything was in that memory. But when I come out from my mother's womb, the time when this umbilical cord is cut off, and our windpipe is opened, there will be a wheel of ignorance, wheel of Maya, which will separate from our memory and our existence. We will fall into that deep level of, losing of memory. So in our deep heart, we know what are things happening, but intellect will not understand. There, this kind of confusion comes. If I am supposed to be killed by a person in my particular age, it is clearly written in my past memory. When I was in my mother's womb, I knew that in my particular age, I will confront with this situation, and I will lose my present life, or I will break my container, which I call body. But when I am in intellectual level, I will not have that clarity of that memory from my instinct. There confusion arises. If I meditate, drag my memory back from my intellectual level to my instinct level, there I will get the clarity. This is how sages, our rishis, were predicting when they will leave the body, what will happen, maybe tomorrow, after a few months. They used to feel the real, the existence of molecular balance. So they could take their memory back to that situation or extend their memory to the future. But we are not having that capability. That is why this question is come. So what a ordinary person can do is just leave things and rely on the masters, the words of masters. Like cosmic laws are there. If one person comes and steal my wallet with all my documents, it's gone. I can be very angry with him. I can take him to the law courts. I can sue him. I can label him as a thief. But I should not lose my inner balance. How I can do that? I can tell myself that this guy is born as a thief by the law of nature. And he cannot do anything else than stealing things. So that is why that his inborn quality is to be a thief. That is why he did his karma. I am bound to be in tune with him. But I have the equal right to take him to the court and punish him. If nature permits, I can catch him. If nature doesn't permit, will it be possible?
No.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Priya, I think the question that you asked, right, the question to begin with, I think had confusion. Because when you're saying that Arjun was asked to kill the Kauravas, he was not asked to kill the Kauravas with anger in his heart. In fact, he was feeling guilty because he's like, I'm killing my uncles. He was told that you don't need anger and you don't need guilt. You are doing this as an external action without an internal reality, right, Guruji? He was doing it internally. You are not feeling anything. You're doing this because it is to be done. When you attach ourselves to what we need to do, that is what the problem happens. We attach our emotions to our actions. And what Guruji is saying, that suppose, for example, somebody does something to us, we can say, hey, this was done to me. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E to get punishment, and to do it without the desperation, without the anger, without all of that. And then if it can happen, if it needs to happen, it will happen. We just lay out the steps that we are going to follow without that excessive emotion and let things unfold. And then if they're meant to unfold, they will unfold. It's like this, and what Guruji said is that when somebody does something to us, suppose we can label him as a thief, but we can tell ourselves that that's his nature. That's who he is. Like if a dog bites us, we're not going to say, oh my God, why did the dog bite us? Because it's the dog's nature. The dog can bite.
Yes, of course,
right?
Yes.
It's our duty. We can put the dog in a leash. We can put the dog, away from the house. We can do all of that. But we're not going to get angry that the dog bit us because the dog bites. That's what the dog will do. Similarly, when people do things, we identify their basic nature and say that this is their nature. I will protect myself the way I need to. But I'm not going to indulge in this drama.
That also, if you want to protect yourself or I have to protect myself. Unless nature permits, we cannot do that. That's why accidents are happening. Things will happen as per the law of nature. And the question will remain, who designed the law of nature? Nature is our own inner nature. So when we take our consciousness or memory back to the reality of our existence, we will come to know all these things are happening only through our own design, our own idea. When we take the responsibility of that, the cosmic reality is exploring or exposing from within, then all these questions will be answered from within.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Guruji. And I can relate to exactly what Guruji is saying because I know I have experienced some of this, that when external situations happen, you do what needs to be done, A, B, C, D, E, without that desperation, without that asakti. And you just, if it's meant to happen, it will happen and you leave it, right, Guruji? So to decide at what level action is required, at what level surrender is required. And even when you do action, to do it with a sense of surrender. The surrender has to be in the action, and you should know when to kind of, when is the limit of that action, and then we kind of just let go, let the universe dictate.
Yes.
Okay, that was really, really great, Guruji. I think I got a lot of clarity, very useful. I hope everybody else did too. If you guys have not, listen to it again because Guruji has explained it very, very nicely, the concept again and again and again, repeatedly in this session. That was really, really great, Guruji. I have to, think about it and write notes.
Right.
Thank you, Guruji.
So, welcome. So questions are over and time is over and I'm not conscious about the timer.
Yeah, I know. I also lose sense. Actually, only 2 minutes are left, Guruji.
Oh,
only 2 minutes. We actually do have a lot of questions, but I feel like the answers are all the same. What about the choices that we have? Is that Vikram, he just said exactly that, right? When you have a choice and it comes from a place of center, you do exercise your choice. All Guruji is saying is anything you do comes from a place of center. It should not come from an hormonal madness inside us. It comes from, as long as you're centered, you take the action. The minute you get off center, that's when you stop the action. Yes, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Pranam, Guruji. Pranam so much. Pranam.
Welcome. So the subject will be, next subject will be decided later between you and Krishnaji.
Yes, Guruji, absolutely. And we are going to plan the Archana, Guruji, on Zoom. We had talked about the Archana, Guruji. So after Diwali, we will plan the Archana as well. Pranam, Guruji. Thank you so much for all the clarity you offer. Pranam.